Can trauma be really passed down from one generation to another? Science is starting to reveal some shocking discoveries that might suggest that pain and emotional trauma of one generation could be transferred to the next one. But how is that possible? Today, I'm going to talk about an experiment which will change your perception forever. But first, what is generational trauma, also known as intergenerational trauma? It refers to an idea that traumatic experience of one generation does not just disappear. It can be passed down to their children and even their grandchildren. This isn't just about learned behavior or coping mechanisms. Recent research has shown that trauma can actually leave a biological mark, affecting how generations respond to stress. For example, a child might grow up with overwhelming anxiety while they haven't experienced any sort of trauma at all. In some cases, it turns out that their parents or grandparents had been through immense trauma, which could be in the form of violence, war, or any sort of abuse. Now, like I promised, let me share with you a very fascinating study. Researchers at Emory University, Georgia, conducted an experiment, and here's what they did. They exposed a group of mice to the smell of almonds while delivering a mild electric shock. Over time, the mice learned to associate the smell of almonds with pain, and they became afraid of the scent. Now here's where it gets even more shocking. When these mice had babies, they also showed fear when they smelled almonds. Even though they had never been shocked, they inherited their fear purely through biology. It gets even more fascinating because scientists also found that these baby mice had more receptors that made them extra sensitive to the almond smell. This study might also show that trauma doesn't just affect individuals. It can change our genes and the way it gets passed down. This field of study, called epigenetics, looks at how trauma and other experiences can affect our biology without changing the actual genetic code itself. So what does this mean for us? It could mean that the challenges we face today, anxiety, stress, depression, could be more deeply rooted than we actually think. Sometimes these feelings are just about what's happening now, but are connected to trauma, and there are lots of examples to it, like the war in Gaza happening right now, include families affected by the ongoing violence, descendants of enslaved people or indigenous communities, and the survivors of the Holocaust. The trauma endured by ancestors doesn't just fade away, but is passed down through generations. Understanding generational trauma is the first step towards healing and breaking the cycle for future. But the most important thing is that healing is possible. In the next video, I will be talking about the impact of trauma and how to break the cycle. But before you go, here is a question. Have you ever felt like you might be going through generational trauma? If that's the case and you might want to share your story, please comment below. Thank you.